team, I hope you're all well. Today I'm here to do October's wrap up. This hasn't been, it's not going to be a spooky wrap up as I hoped it would be. It is what it is. Luckily Vamp Thon saved my backside at the end of the month. I'm just currently exporting Vamp Thon's vlog at the moment, actually, while I'm filming this. If you haven't watched it yet, it's a feature-length film. I'm not sorry. I had a great time, okay? It was a good reading vlog and I had a fabulous time. If you haven't seen it yet, here's the plug to go and watch it. I would recommend. I'd recommend going back and watching that before this, to be perfectly honest, because you don't want to spoil yourself for what I actually managed to read and what I thought. So, anywho, October was a reasonably good month. It didn't start out too well. It kind of plateaued in the middle, and then Vamp Thon saved my bacon towards the end, and I'm really glad that I took part, actually, and went as hard as I did for Vamp Thon, because I had a really good time, and I managed to read a bunch of good, like, horrors and thrillers and stuff for the end of the month. So I did have a great time, but I managed to read 25 books in October, which isn't too bad. And I read a grand total of 8,390 pages, which is my second best reading month as far as page count is concerned. So that's not too bad. Pretty good. And I actually, you know what? If I was the type of person to set monthly goals, like Jan, for example, from Jan Agaton, I would recommend going and checking her out if you haven't already. She's really cool. But if I was the type of person to have monthly goals, which I am thinking about bringing into 2025, because I feel like it's a really good idea, and I love the way that Jan does hers. I probably wouldn't do as many as Jan because she's got some really good goals, but they're very, for me personally, I wouldn't be able to achieve them all. But if I was the sort of person to do that, I have managed to read 3 arcs in the month of October. I've read 2 subscription box books. What else did I nail? I actually finished a book that's been on my TBR so fucking long. It's been on my Goodreads, currently reading, for so long. What else did I achieve? That might be about it. But there's some pretty good goals hit there, to be honest. The arc one and the subscription box one are really good goals for me. So I'm debating whether or not to bring something like that into 2025, to have like monthly goals of read an arc, read a subscription box book. I think Jan also does like a read non-fiction, which I should probably do something similar, and read a classic maybe. I can't remember what else she does, but she's got some really good goals. The classic one doesn't work for me, but the arc and the subscription box and a non-fiction, some type, like maybe a bi-monthly non-fiction maybe, would be really good for me. I should make my way through more non-fiction books. I've got a whole stack of them on top of the Daisy and Bee shelf, so I should make more of that. But it's really got me thinking about some goals to bring into 2025, so that's really good. But I've done pretty well with my reading. I've read duplicate authors, like the same author back to back on multiple occasions. I was trying to get through my 6-year booktube anniversary video. Again, if you haven't watched that one yet, I will leave it up here. So I had a couple of books left over from that. Like I say, I was finishing off a book that's been on my Goodreads, currently reading, for like 195 days or something stupid like that. But I did read a whole bunch of romance as well. I think I might have actually read more romance than anything else this month. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. But I did also have a handful of DNFs as well. I had like 4 DNFs. One of them's a soft DNF, and I will come back to. So without further ado, let's go through this, because we will be here a while otherwise. And I gotta get through this. I gotta get through this. Is Daniel Bedingfield coming back or what? I heard from his sister, not personally, on TikTok, that he was in the process of doing a song. Has he done it? I love that song. It's so good. What a banger. Anyway, let's get into what I read. So I started the month off with Credence by Penelope Douglas. I've just been craving wanting to read this. I can't remember why. I just have. Probably TikTok. But I just have. And I'm so glad I picked it up, because I actually really had a good time with this. I gave it 4.5 stars. It is deemed a taboo book. There is some, you know, family crossover a little bit. Nobody in a relationship in this book is actually blood related to each other. A lot of people will tell you this book is incest. It is not. They are step family and she had never met them until the moment she met them in this book previously. Just FYI. It's step uncle and step cousins. Why choose? And I loved it. It was really, really good. 4.5 stars. I had a great time with it and I would recommend it. It was very, very good. I'm not going to go through massive synopsis or how I felt about these books. I've done reading vlogs for them all. If you want to know my inner full thoughts on them all, check out the reading vlogs. I would highly recommend. Next was my first DNF of the month, second book of the month, and it was a DNF. It was God of Malice by Rena Kent. I was livid. I don't physically own it. Thank the fucking Lord I didn't spend money on this book. I was livid about picking this book up. It didn't take me long to DNF this book, I've got to be honest. The first 2 chapters made me so uncomfortable I couldn't continue. And I'm a little bit gutted about it because I've got a contact at one of my favourite publishers that sends me quite a lot of arcs. And they emailed me the other day to say that they've picked the series up, and I'm a little bit gutted because I was like, I would love a copy of this book, but I can't do it to myself. The reason why I DNF'd this was that there was a very clear sexual assault grape scene in the first 2 chapters of this book, and it made me so uncomfortable because the relationship is those 2 main characters. I can't get behind that. I cannot get behind sexual assault between the 2 main characters that are going to have a relationship and I'm supposed to ship. Absolutely fucking not. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. Each to their own. Never gonna yuck anybody's yum, but that freaked me out and I just didn't like it. It made me really uncomfortable. I may pick up the new edition. I may give it a go. I was tempted actually to say yes to her because I'm interested to see whether or not it's had a rewrite. I'm interested to see whether or not Rena has gone back and redone that. At the same time, I never want to touch a Rena Kent book again. This is very clearly a popular book. There are a lot of 5-star reviews on Goodreads. I did scroll through the negative ones to see if other people were mirroring me, if I'd made up the fact that that just happened in the book and that it made me uncomfortable, if I was making it up, if I was the one in the wrong thinking that that was gross and disgusting and that I couldn't move forward to ship this relationship because of it. Luckily, I'm not the only person on the planet that thinks that, thank the fucking Lord. One of my patrons, Chloe, was reading it at the same time. Again, we were doing our accidental, I think she was reading it at the same time, or she's previously read it. She did a very similar thing to me and DNF'd it very early on because it made her uncomfortable, and I was like, good. Because, well, not good that it made you uncomfortable, but good that I'm not the only one doing it, because I was really concerned. It's a really popular book. Everyone's giving it 5 stars. And I was like, am I the problem here? Thank the Lord that this book has not gaslit me into thinking that I'm the problem with having a problem with sexual assault and grape in the first 2 chapters. I really hope she rewrites the scene. I do. But I just don't know if I can move forward trying it again. I don't think I can. I don't think I'll ever pick another Rena Kent up, unfortunately. First Rena Kent, first DNF by her, never picking up a book from her again. It is what it is, unfortunately. Sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry at all. You wrote it, so you've done it to yourself. Okay, next, I then did pick up another pen. With Corrupt, I was like, listen, Penelope Douglas has not let me down yet. I have read Birthday Girl, I've read Punk 57, I had then at this point also read Credence. She's not let me down yet, so I was like, in pen we trust. And I picked up Corrupt, which is the first in the Devil's Night series. I was just looking for some really dark romance, okay? I thought that God of Malice was going to be it. It was not. Jesus Christ. So I picked up Corrupt, which is the first book in the Devil's Night series. I fucking love this. I gave it 5 stars. It was really, really good. And I absolutely loved it. Then I did pick up Wolf by Paisley Hope. Again, another dark romance. This one, and I think also Corrupt, introduced me into something I had never seen before. I read it in this before I read it in Corrupt, but introduced me to something that I had never seen before in a movie, in a book. I knew that it was a thing, but I hadn't read it before, and that is how would you say it? You know, like knife play or gun play. It introduced me into that. Now, initially, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Then as I went on, I didn't hate it. I've got to be honest. Didn't hate it. Didn't hate it. It was that meme, you know, where she's like, well, nah. Well, it was that meme. That was me reading the scene in here. And then for about 10 pages after. I fucking love this. This was a motorcycle club romance. Very dark romance, actually. Romantic suspense. Think Sons of Anarchy, but with more sex. Way more sex. This was really, really good. And I absolutely loved it. This cover, stunning. Obsessed with this illustration style. Absolutely gorgeous. There is another book that has been illustrated by the same illustrator called Bourbon and what's it called? Something. I'll show a picture of it here. Stunning. Obsessed with this illustration style. It's gorgeous. Would highly recommend this one. This was my second read from Paisley Hope. You're about to see her in a minute again, because again I read 2 of her books almost back to back like I did with Pen. So 5 stars for this. Absolutely fantastic, would recommend. Then one of the arcs that I did read, I finally finished A Pirate's Life for Tea by Rebecca Thorn. This I did have an arc for, but I was struggling to get through it. On occasion, I don't really read a lot of fantasy physically. The only fantasy that I have ever had that physically worked for me to read physically without an audiobook was A Fate Inked in Blood the beginning of this year, because I got an arc of that. I picked it up on a whim thinking, oh, I'll give this a bash, give it a read, see if I can get through it, and I couldn't put it down. So I thought the same thing might happen with this, because it's the second in the series, and unfortunately it didn't. I was struggling with it, so I waited until the day the audiobook was released and then finished it on release day. So I did finish A Pirate's Life for Tea by Rebecca Thorn. It is the second one to Can't Spell Treason Without Tea, and I enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars, which is what I gave the first one. I had a very good time with it. It was nice to be back with Raina and Chianti, and I really enjoyed it. I will say I missed the coziness of being in the town and being at their coffee shop / bookstore. I did miss that, so I wanted to go back to that. Really, this was like more of an adventure side for them, but I enjoyed it regardless, and I did give it 4 stars. This is the Waterstones edition as well. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into these next 2 because they were rereads, but then I did do a reread of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is the first time I've ever reread this book. I did tab it. I anticipated hating this reread because I probably shouldn't like the book in the first place because of the writing style. It doesn't work for me. If you know anything about me, you will know that lyrical and flowery writing is not my jam. This does have lyrical and flowery writing, so everybody's surprised when I tell them that I like this after they've heard I don't like the writing style of lyrical / flowery writing. Loved it, 5 stars. Probably loved it a smidge more than I did the first time I read it. I'm obsessed with this book. I just loved it. I did do this for my 6-year YouTube anniversary, so if you're interested in knowing my full thoughts all the way through this, because I do like a partway through update and then tell you at the end my full thoughts on how I felt about rereading this. Very similarly to The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. Again, didn't anticipate enjoying this on a reread because I thought it was, like Addie LaRue, going to be a one-hit wonder, and it was just the right time for me to pick it up. I re-tabbed this because I'd tabbed it the first time around. Re-tabbed it so that the tabs match the cover. Gave it 5 stars for a second time. Then I read Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, also for that video, and I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked this. I'm glad I finally got to it because it's been on my shelves for long enough now. I do have both Wildfire and also whatever the hell the third one's called. Where is it? Daydream. I do have both of those as well. Way more excited about Daydream than I am Wildfire because I think there's some neurodivergent rep in it. I'm fairly certain it might be ADHD, but I'm not sure. So I am looking forward to that one, but I gave this one 4 stars. This was really good. It is a hockey romance. She's a figure skater, he's a hockey player, and I really enjoyed it. It was very, very good. And also for that video, I read Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this one 4 stars. Didn't enjoy this as much as I previously enjoyed Ali Hazelwood's books. I think this was way more technical on the STEM side of things, and it just kept dragging me out of the story entirely. But overall, I did enjoy this one. She basically pretends to be fake dates for people, and he is her favourite client's brother. That's the plot of the story. She's in STEM, but she doesn't get paid enough with her job, so that's why she does this fake dating business. I enjoyed it, it was good, just a little bit too technical for me. Then I did read Killing Stalking Volume 4. This series is still a fucking train wreck. Am I continuing to read it though? Abso-fucking-lutely, I am. I gave this 4 stars. It's insane, and I just don't know what else to tell you other than that, to be perfectly honest. At this point we had our second DNF, and it was The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcy Coates. I'm a little bit sad about it. Actually, I'm very sad about this. I was really hoping that this would be a win for me with Darcy Coates, because I've read from Darcy Coates before. Can't even remember the name of the book now. I will post a picture of it here. Future Steph is gonna fucking hate me editing stuff. She hates it when I do that. Sorry. Anyway, I gave that one, I think it was like 3 stars. I wasn't impressed by it. I honestly could not tell you a single thing about that book now. It should probably be 2 stars at this point. Couldn't tell you a single thing about that book. I wasn't that impressed. I know everybody raves about Darcy Coates, but for some reason, just not working for me, and I hate that. I really hoped that this would be a win for me. I love a haunted house story. It would appear that that's my favourite type of horror to read, but this, I could not have cared less if I tried. I did not care. I got to the point, she basically, what is she called? I don't even remember her name. Adrian. We have the first clip. The first clip hooked me, I will say. The first chapter, sorry, hooked me. Where she is being dragged out of the house by her mother, thrown into the car, and they are driving away from the house. And she's wondering why that's happening. And then we fast forward many years, and the house has been left to her, and she goes to live there because she's, you know, at the end of her tether with life in general, and she's like, well, I've got nothing else left, I'll just go and sort this fucking house out. So she turns up at the house, and there's a couple of odd things that happen. Actually, now that I'm thinking about the other book, they're quite similar to what happens in the other book as well, the vibe of it. A little bit wooden for me, unfortunately. And then this group of girls turns up, and it was at this point that I DNF'd the book, because I was like, I just don't care. Like, scare the pants off of me or don't. Just don't promise me that you're going to do that and then not do it. So I don't know how far in I got with this. Was I maybe... Oh yeah, look at that, they're having conversations. Maybe it was... Yeah, chapter 10. The girls had just turned up, so I was like 66 pages in, and I was like, this book has done nothing for me so far. She's arrived, 1 or 2 odd things have happened, Kat's not comfortable, and then this group of girls have turned up, and now she's hosting this group of girls, and I'm like, what is this? Is it a horror or not? I just didn't like it. I wasn't a fan. I'm really sad. The cover's really creepy. I love the cover, but I'm really sad about it. So I ended up DNFing this one, and unfortunately it's going to go straight in my own haul pile, which I'm sad about because it's not long since come in. In fact, I don't even know if I've hauled this yet, and it's going in my own haul pile already. It is what it is. Okay, next we had my first subscription box book, and I did read Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen. I'm so glad I picked this up. I have been in the mood for this since it came in. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I actually really enjoyed this. It is a why choose, and I'm fairly certain it's a why choose anyway. Kind of. Actually, you know what really surprised me about this? It wasn't as spicy as I thought it was going to be. Certainly not regarding our main female character as well. So we've got her, who is called Rosie, and then we've also got 4 princes, and they are called, I'm gonna have to flick through this and find their names because I can't remember off of the top of my head. Listen, I've read a lot, okay? Farron, Ezrin, and Dayton. Farron, Ezrin, and Dayton. Now, if I remember correctly, Farron and Dayton have a thing going on, and we got spice from them, and then Rosie and Ezrin appear to be getting close. However, we didn't get like much spice from them at all. We got discussions of it with all 4 of them and with her and Ezrin, but we didn't, if I remember correctly, we didn't get any on page, did we? I can't remember. We might have got 1 on page sexy time between the 2 of them. So it wasn't as spicy as I anticipated. And I'm excited to continue on with the series for that reason, because we didn't go straight into it. Like, we went into the you know, her having feelings for them, but we didn't go into the sexy time straight away with them. We already have the established relationship between Farron and Dayton, so that I didn't mind at all. So I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I'm very excited to continue on with the series, and every time I've gone in the bookstore over the last couple of weeks since I read this, I've been so tempted to pick up the second one, but my birthday and Christmas are coming up, so I am just going to wait and hold off and see what I get for my birthday and Christmas, and then if I get some vouchers, I will treat myself to them if they don't come in the meantime. But I loved this. 4 stars. Then I did read my next arc, and it was Training the Heart by Paisley Hope. I now have a finished copy for my trophy, for my shelves. This is the 3rd book that Paisley Hope has come out with. It's the 3rd book that I've read. It's the 3rd book I've given 5 stars. Paisley Hope is very quickly becoming one of my favourite authors. There are not many authors on my shelves that have back-to-back 5-star reads. Abby Jimenez, I think, is the only author on my shelves that every single one of her books, I haven't read Just for the Summer yet, every single one of her books, 5 stars. Every one. Out of the, where is she? Abby, there you are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of the 5 books I've read from her, all 5 have been 5 stars. I've got 1 more left to read from her until her new one comes out next year. She's my favourite, she is my favourite romance author of all time, because she's the only author I've given 5 stars, all of her books. But Paisley Hope is very quickly following her. 3rd 5-star this year as well. 3rd 5-star this year, because I read Holding the Reins, which is the 1st book to this series, earlier on this year. Then I've read Wolf and Training the Heart this month. Both of them are getting sequels. This is the 2nd book in this series. The 3rd book is coming out early on next year. So I'm hoping to get an arc of that in the Silver Pines series. And I loved this. It was really, really good. Wade Ashby, I was feral for that man. He was insane. Insane. I actually loved him. I loved him. The problem is, I couldn't decide if I loved Wade Ashby more or Gabriel from Wolf. It must have been Gabriel from Wolf though, ever so slightly, because that was my favourite book of the month, Wolf was. Training the Heart was very, very close behind though. But I love this. Cowboy romance, absolutely fantastic. Cannot tell you how good this was. Then I did finally finish the book that's been on my Goodreads currently reading shelf for 194 days, I think it was. Mina and the Cult by Amy McCaw. Finally finished it. I started this in April. I think I started it, I was reading them back to back because I was having such a good fucking time, and I think I was reading it while I was on holiday, and then for some reason I just stopped. We come back from Turkey in April and I just put this book down and I didn't come back to it again. It was a me problem, not the book's fault. I gave this one 4.5 stars, 4 on Goodreads, because it was a lower 4.5. But my break from reading this did affect it ever so slightly, but I did love it still because I gave the first 2 5 stars. So I am a little bit sad about that, but I did have to reflect it in my rating and be really honest about that. But I loved this series. It was so good. If you're looking for a vampire series, a YA vampire series, but the upper end of YA for sure, upper end of YA, probably actually on the precipice of becoming a new adult. If you're one of those people that just doesn't acknowledge new adult as a thing at all, it's the upper end of YA, but I reckon it's like almost bridging that gap between YA and new adult. She's 17, Mina's 17 when we start off in the first book. She has her 18th birthday in that first book. And everyone else in the book is older than her. She's the youngest character, but in this series, so good. It is set in 1995 in New Orleans, and it is all about vampires. And this one obviously is Mina and the Cult, and I just really love this series. It's very, very good. I would highly recommend it. Such a good series, and it is indie published as well, so go support your indie authors. Thank you again to Amy for sending me this. I truly appreciate it. Your series is fantastic, and I adore you. Then I did read The Asylum Confessions by Jack Steen. Ooh, that's just come back to me. I didn't have that name written down. By Jack Steen. I actually really enjoyed this. This was a pick up on a whim kind of book. I didn't have it. I just wanted to read it. It sounded really good. It sounds like non-fiction, but I do think it is fiction. So we're essentially following Jack, who is a nurse in an asylum. and he essentially, everybody that's in there is going to die. They have gone in there with a death sentence, and Jack basically says to them, look, I will make this as painless as I possibly can for you if you tell me exactly what it is that you've done. Tell me your confessions, tell me all your sins. I want to know what happened. If you don't, that's fine, but it won't be painless. So quite the sadistic book, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very, very good. I enjoyed the audiobook. It was really good. There were, I think, 4 stories in total. The first 2, very sick in the head, absolutely pure psychos. Do you know what I mean? Like, completely sick in the head for what they did. The third one, sorry, felt so bad for her. I felt really, really bad for her. She has a lot of trauma from her past that ended up making her do what she did, and I just feel horrendous for her. The poor girl. My heart went out to her for sure. I felt the exact same way as Jack the nurse did. So, and then the 4th one, I felt a little bit unsure about, to be perfectly honest, because her reasoning behind why she was doing what she was doing made sense to me, but I feel like there was more to her story that she didn't quite let go of. So overall, really enjoyed it. I was really, really into it. It was like listening to a podcast a little bit, and I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend them. I do want to continue on. There's about 8 of them, and I do want to continue on. They're all relatively short, so I think I might continue on reading those. They were very, very good, and I'm glad I tried it out. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was good. I then moved on to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is, I read volume 1, High School is Hell. I read this one for Rebecca Rec, actually, and I wasn't anticipating much from this, but I actually gave it 3.5 stars. I liked where it left off, and I do want to continue on, but there is like a certain way to read this series. So you read Buffy volume 1, then you read Angel volume 1, then you read like Buffy volume 2 and 3, then Angel volume 2, and then like Willow volume 1, and then go back to Buffy. There's a whole fucking thing, and I only have like the first 4 in that order ready to go, so I might continue on for a little bit before I commit to getting any more. But I gave this 3.5 stars, thought it was quite good. Again, the cliffhanger got me. I probably wouldn't have cared too much. I did enjoy it for what it was, but I might not continue investing in them if it wasn't for the cliffhanger. But I want to continue on with at least Angel volume 1 and then Buffy 2 and 3, just to see where it goes and then make my decision at that point. So you may see me trying to cram a few more of these in at the beginning of November, potentially. We'll see. Then we get into my Vamp Thon reads. So I started off with We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver. I loved this. This was so good. I really enjoyed it. I will say I was left with more questions than answers at the end of this book. It is left on quite the cliffhanger, and on that basis I didn't know whether to rate this a 2-star or a 5-star. I was really irritated by some of the questions that I was left with and how it ended, but it was fucking brilliant because of the way that I felt at the end. I felt discombobulated, I felt confused, I felt thrown off, I felt uncomfortable, but because of all of that, the writing style for this was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. I would definitely read from Marcus again, and I just really loved the atmosphere for this. It was so fucking creepy. I loved the atmosphere. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. It was great. Still left with a load of questions, but it was a good time. I had a really good time. So yeah, 4.5 stars for this one. So glad that I got to it. I did read Cryptid Club by Sarah Anderson. This is just a cute little graphic novel that was sent to me by Amanda and Mike. So thank you to them for sending me this one. And it's just got a bunch of little like slides about different cryptid creatures, essentially. I gave it 5 stars. It was a lot of fun. I had a very good time with it. Then I did read Heads Will Roll by Josh Winning. Again, another one I'm really glad that I actually got to this year because I really did want to pick this one up. It sounded fantastic. This is a slasher that is set at a camp. We are following our main character, Willow, who goes to this camp after she's been cancelled for something that she did, you know, online. She was internet famous, YouTube famous or something, and then she got cancelled for something that she said online. So she goes to this camp where essentially they take your phones off you. It's like a social media reset camp, if you like. You've got no social media, there's no signal, can't contact anyone. And when she gets there, there's a whole bunch of other people there. Now things start to go a little bit weird. People start to go missing. There is this story of Knock Knock Nancy where she knocks on your door, and if you answer, she takes your head. and revenge because she had her head taken. And as it turns out, that story may not be so fake as they think it is. And it's a really good slasher, but with a lot of very good conversations going on in the background, especially about queer people in general and what this camp used to essentially be as well. And I really, really loved it. I would highly recommend it. It was very, very good. I did the audiobook. There is mixed media in here, and I just really had a good time with this one, and I cannot recommend it enough. So 4.5 stars for this one. I really, really enjoyed it. At this point, I soft DNF'd An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. This was one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and I am a little bit sad about the direction that this has taken. And it's a soft DNF for now, because since I put it down, I can't stop thinking about it. So I think I might try and go back to it. I have previously loved The Year of the Witching and House of Hunger. I gave them both 5 stars, so I was very much so anticipating this the minute that I heard that it was coming out. And this is a dark academia type book, but with magic, and we are following our main character, Lennon, who we start off at her engagement do, but she's in the mirror, she's having a little bit of a moment, and she's looking in this mirror, and there's like multiple mirrors around her, so she can see multiples of herself, and all of a sudden one of the reflections does not follow her. It stops, and something happens, and she ends up having a little bit of a meltdown. She does then go back to the party, and then she sees something she shouldn't see with her partner, and she flees. She runs off, and she's like, she's got depression already, and she's like, I'm so fucking done with my life. This is it. I cannot do this anymore. I need to find somewhere secluded, and that is it. I'm done. But she's also looking for a sign not to do it. Now she stops, she ends up having to stop. She's nicked the car, but it needs fuel. She ends up having to stop at this gas station, and there is a payphone there, and it starts ringing, and it rings and rings and rings and rings, and eventually she picks it up. She's like, maybe this is my sign not to do this. She picks it up, and they're like, you've been accepted to Drayton Academy. And she's like, I don't even know what Drayton Academy is, and I've never applied. You've been accepted. If you're not here by this time, we'll assume you don't want to come. So she goes. She's like, I've got fuck all else to do. I've nothing to lose. Let's go. So she goes, and it turns out it's like this academy for people with magic, or people with... I honestly haven't been able to figure it out fully. Drayton College, a school of magic hidden in a secret pocket of Savannah. So she arrives, she's got like this exam that she's got to do, which involves forcing somebody. It's essentially magic of persuasion, so persuading somebody to do something without having to say anything. That's the kind of magic that we're looking at here. And she gets asked to persuade this guy to do something, and she just goes ahead and does it. There are no questions here. No questions asked. She's not asking where her application came from. She's not asking, do I have magic? How long have I had magic? What else can I do with this magic? She's asking no questions. I'm asking all the questions. I'm getting no answers because she's not asking them, and I'm confused. Don't get it. I'm confused. And I kept going on with the book in the hopes that I would find some answers, and then I got to a point where I was just sat there and I thought, am I actually enjoying this book or not? And I don't, in the moment, I don't think I was enjoying it. So I put it down with the potential to come back to it. And since I've put it down, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So it could be one that I go back to and try and get through slowly but surely in the background of other videos maybe. We'll see. You may at some point just hear me go, by the way, I finished An Academy for Liars. Or you may never hear of this book again. We will find out. But for now, I've soft DNF'd it on page 163. I'm devastated about it, so I think I will definitely try and give it a second chance for sure. But yeah, soft DNF that one. That was a big sad for me, I'm not gonna lie. I then read Over My Dead Body by Sweeney Boo. This is a witchy graphic novel. Again, dark academia, it's set at a witchy school, and I really enjoyed this. This was very, very good, and I did give it 4.5 stars. It was a great time. Then I did pick up my second subscription box book. It came in, and the next day I picked it up and read it. The Coven by Harper Lwoods. I've been anticipating this one for sure. The minute that I found out that it was coming in a subscription box, I was like, well, I'm not going to buy it. I will just read the subscription box copy. And I'm so glad I did. What I will say is that I think this came out originally indie published, and it's since been picked up by a publisher and has had a little bit of a rewrite. So if you're going to go into the audiobook of this and immersion read like I was trying to do, eventually I did have to stop because it was throwing me out of the story massively. If your intention is to immersion read, I would recommend just don't. Either physically read it or listen to it on audio, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend immersion reading, because here's what happened. The audiobook came out in April 2023. This version of this book came out October 2024. And it's had a little bit of a rewrite. So what I was finding was, initially it was a couple of sentences that was missed, and then what I found was that pages were being missed. There were like 3 pages being skipped or 4 pages being skipped, and I was pausing the audiobook, physically reading the bits that were being missed, and then going back to the audiobook again, and things like that. It got to a point where I just stopped with the physical book. I stopped immersion reading, so I don't know how much I've still missed. And on occasion I would find that the stuff that I was missing was quite important to the story, to kind of boost the story. So I don't know if it's just a case that Harper's then gone back through it, obviously with the publisher, and gone, maybe we could just bulk this out a little bit more. The audiobook has clearly not been redone yet. So either maybe wait for the audiobook to be redone or physically read this. I don't know, but just know that going in, if you're going to try an immersion read with the current audiobook and then a new copy of this book, just be wary. You will find that there may be pages missing out of the audiobook. So just be warned of that. I gave this 4.5 stars. This was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I loved the magic system in this. I loved the way it was described. It's all to do with nature and everything. And I loved the way it was described. I thought it was described so beautifully. And I absolutely adored this, and I'm so excited for the second one. Really, really excited. I really enjoyed this. I had a very good time. 4.5 stars. I then did a reread of Fangs by Sarah Anderson. I've already mentioned Sarah Anderson with Cryptid Club. This I've read before. I gave it 5 stars. It is a very cute graphic novel about a vampire and a werewolf falling in love, and it's absolutely adorable. And I love it, so I gave it 5 stars. I then had my 4th DNF of the month, the last DNF of the month, and it was Bunny by Mona Award. Now, I gave this a really good go. I got to page 124 in this book, and I always went in, was always had trepidations about this book, because I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it. I was hoping I was going to enjoy it. I really wanted to enjoy it, but I didn't think I was necessarily going to. It is literary fiction, it's literary horror, and I don't necessarily get on with literary fiction. It makes me feel really stupid. I don't feel like I'm clever enough for literary fiction, and I just don't enjoy it in general as a writing style, which is okay, you know? You don't have to like everything, and that's all right. So because of that, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it, and because it's classified as like one of those weird horror books, you know, where it's kind of for certain people who like weird horror, and I'm not one of those people. Only a handful of weird horror books have worked for me. The Last House on Needless Street, which I actually had to give 2 tries, that worked for me. And then also the Josh Malerman House at the Bottom of the Lake. Yeah, A House at the Bottom of the Lake. That was a weird book as well. That one worked for me as well. This just didn't, unfortunately. It's about, we're following the main character, Samantha Heather McKay, who's an outsider in her MFA program at Warren University. Now, she's an outsider of this cliquey group of girls who call themselves Bunny, and each other Bunny as well. They have this smut salon thing, and they're just very, very strange, and it's all Bunny this and Bunny that, and she wants nothing to do with it until she gets an invite, and then she can't get out. And it's a little bit like going down the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. Like, it's batshit crazy. I've no fucking clue what's going on. It's all, you know, very bizarre. Fever dream, if you will. It's all very, very weird, and I just didn't like it. It was very pretentious. It was very, I just felt like the characters, they're not even real. I felt like the characters were very much so looking down their nose at me. And I think that's supposed to be the point of the book, and that's all right, but I didn't get on with it. I didn't like it. I didn't care for the characters. I didn't care for what was going on. And I just felt like I was going insane, and it didn't work for me. And that's okay. But I did give it a really good go, though. I got about a third of the way in with 124 pages. I didn't anticipate liking this one to begin with. I was really hoping I would, but I didn't anticipate doing so, and unfortunately it didn't work for me. So I did DNF this one. Please don't come for me. I know it's very popular, but it's not going to be for everybody. So yeah, I did end up DNFing this one, unfortunately. So it is what it is. Then I did go on to read Dracula Volume 1. This is a manga retelling of Dracula. And this was interesting. It's got quite a bit of body horror in it that gives me, it reminds me of Junji Ito's body horror graphic manga, sorry. And it was quite a different take on the story, but I really enjoyed it and I had a good time with it. So I'm intrigued to continue on with this series, and I would like to get more volumes of it. So I'm intrigued to move forward with this one for sure. I gave this one 4 stars. I liked it. Then I did read The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I really wanted to love this. I really wanted to love it so much, and I just didn't. I gave it 2 stars. I did not care for a single thing going on in this book. I didn't care. I wanted to have the pants scared off of me. I wanted to have a new favourite classic. Actually, I did complete Jen's classic prompt. I wanted to have a new favourite classic, and I just didn't. This wasn't terrifying. I actually think the only terrifying thing that happened in the last page, and then it ended. I was like, wait, I wanted more of that. Give me more of that. What happened? What happened? I just didn't care. I did not like it. I think what I'm going to do is watch the show, because I've never seen the show. I did go into this knowing absolutely nothing. I've never seen the show. I think I might watch the show and then come back to the book and maybe give it another reread. Maybe it won't make it better. I've heard a lot of people say that the show is better, but maybe it won't make it better. We'll see though. I'm intrigued to at least try that for sure. So I gave this 2 stars. Sorry to those of you that are Haunting of Hill House fans, I do apologise. I gave it 2 stars, but for now I am going to keep it because I bought it especially for Vamp Thon, and I'm really gutted about the situation. Then I did read Only With Me by Brooke Montgomery. Again, this was another arc of book, so this is like the 3rd arc of the month. Was it the 3rd arc of the month? I think it was the 3rd arc of the month. Yeah, Pirate's Life for Tea, Training the Heart, Only With Me. It was the 3rd arc of the month. Gave it 5 stars. This is fantastic. It's the 4th book in the Sugarland Creek series by Brooke Montgomery. I've read the 3rd one, which I also got as an arc earlier on this year and gave 5 stars. And then I bought books 0, because there's a prequel, 1 and 2, and I have not yet quite read them. I'm partway through book 1, which I picked up right before this came in. It was a really dumb decision. And then I put that down, picked this one up. I've smashed my way through this, given it 5 stars. It was so good, and I do want to go back to book 1 now. This one follows Waylon and also Harlow, and it is ex-girlfriend's little sister romance. Friends to lovers. It was absolutely adorable and I loved it. It was so good. Would recommend checking out Brooke Montgomery's books for sure. And if you get the physical copies, you get on occasion these really cute illustrations that are just so beautifully done. Mostly clean. You get like 2 clean and 1 not safe for work. Very nude illustrations. Absolutely love them. Fantastic books, 5 stars. Then I did read All Hallows by Christopher Golden. I wanted to love this so much. I really wanted to love it, but it was doing way too much and I gave it 2 stars. It was doing too much. It probably should be like 1, to be honest. I loved the beginning of this book. Like the first, I would say maybe 50 pages or so. Where was I up to? Because I remember exactly the point at which it took a little bit of a turn. Maybe it was like the first 100, no, maybe like the first 50 pages, I actually think. Yeah, Barb Sweeney there. It was the first 60 pages ish. Loved. Thought it was fantastic. Setting the story up really well. The first chapter a little bit slow. We're following 2 different families, the Barbosas and the Sweeneys, in which their lives are quite nicely imploding on Halloween. Quite badly imploding actually on Halloween. The Barbosas are selling their house, and it is the last year that they're going to do their Halloween party thing. They decorate the entire house, like their lawn, their garden, everything up, and host the Halloween party. They do it every single year. I can't remember if they do it for charity or not, but they do it every single year, and it goes down really, really well with everybody. So they're doing it for the last time this year, and we start off following Tony, Dad, and his daughter while they're decorating the house. Then we move on to the Sweeney family, and we're following Barb Sweeney, mum, and she is just arriving back home after sorting some stuff out for the day, and she finds that her kids are outside working. Dad is nowhere to be seen. He said that he had to nip to the office. Turns out that Dad is a big fat liar and cheater. So anyway, this is all the drama that's unfolding, and I'm like sick. I'm in on this drama. I am hooked immediately. Awesome. Love me a good family drama story. Then we get the second part of this story, which is the horror element, where there is a bunch of these kids that are going around on Halloween. This is all on Halloween, by the way. Bunch of kids going around on Halloween asking people for help because the cunning man is looking for them. Now, these kids don't look like they're from this era. They've no parents. Nobody's with them, and it's all very strange. Now, personally, I would have loved 2 books out of this. I would have loved the family drama book where all of this shit goes down on Halloween and it all becomes unravelled at a Halloween party. Fantastic. Brilliant. Genius. Give me the family drama at a Halloween party where all the neighbours are there, and you know, you've always got those nosy neighbours that want to know all of the drama and will just keep pushing until it's all come out. Wonderful. Love that. Give me that. And then give me the horror side of it in a different book where there are these kids from what look like a different generation, different era, that appear to have no parents and nobody looking after them, and they're banging on about this guy called the Cunning Man who's looking for them. Give me that in a separate book. Don't put them together like this, because it doesn't fucking work. You're following a different character every single chapter, so just as you're about to get to the brink of finding out some answers, or it's just about to get really, really good with this character, you switch all of a sudden to a different character. And it just, to start off with, was fine. The family drama side of things, I think I could have carried on with that. It was really good, because then I just wanted to carry on to get back to the character to find out what happened next. But when the horror element came in, it was very jarring, and I didn't like it anymore, and it wasn't working anymore. And I think that Christopher Nolan was trying to do too much with this book, and it just didn't work for me. I wasn't scared. I didn't find it terrifying. I just think if he'd have done the thriller family drama side of things and the horror element with the kids and the Cunning Man, 2 different books, even better. 2 different books, amazing. It would have worked really, really well. Unfortunately for me, 2 stars. This just did not work well. I liked the writing style. I may try again with Christopher Golden. This is the first book of his that I picked up. It's just not worked, and I'm sad about it. I've got to be honest. And then last but not by no means least, I did wrap up the month with my annual reread of Pumpkinheads. This is the 5th time I've reread this book. I love this graphic novel. It is so cute. We're following our 2 main characters, Deja and Josiah, and they work at the Pumpkin Patch Farm. It's the last time that they're going to be working here before they both go off to college, and he wants to tell his crush at the farm that he's got a crush on her, and Deja's like, right, I'll help you out, let's go, let's do it. And it takes them so long that it gets to a point where they actually end up, they're like really good friends, they actually end up kind of liking each other by the end of the book. It's really, really cute. It's a very cute romance with all of the autumn Halloween-y vibes. I read this, like on Halloween for me yesterday when I'm filming this. I read this on Halloween, and it was a perfect Halloween read. It was just so good, and I can't recommend it enough. 5 stars every single time I read it. And that is your lot. This is going to be a really fucking long video. My apologies. I've got to get better at doing rapid fire for these wrap ups, because I do the vlogs. I tell you my full thoughts in the vlogs. I will have linked to those vlogs throughout this video if you've missed any. I will leave them in the description box down below as well if you wanted to check them out. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Chat to me in the comments down below. What was your favourite book of October? Did you manage to read lots of spooky season books, or spoopy season books if you prefer those? My favourite book was actually a romance, and it was Wolf by Paisley Hope. But I did have some really good Halloween reads, so I'm really happy about that. But chat to me in the comments down below. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye for now.